I'm gonna reverse this and ask you the question. I want to hear about how you went from where I was at, hustling to get investors, to now you've got investors coming to you. What was that journey like?
I mean, I started, as you know, I started with nothing, and I couldn't even guarantee debt, and I gave LPs incredibly sweet deals just to get started. I mean, I started syndicating before I knew what the word syndication was.
Yeah.
Right. I took a really basic real estate investing class and it was about, flipping or buy and hold houses. Right. And I was hard up. I was in a really tough place in life. And this is, well over a decade ago. And so I said, well, I can do this, but I don't want to do this with one unit. I got to do this with many units. So I started with an 8-plex, and then later did a 16, then later did a house package of about 30. And I just kept growing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started with, okay, investors, if you can guarantee the debt and give me all the money, I will do all the work.
Yeah.
And you get 100% of the income until you're made whole. Then we split it. Right. That was my first structure. Now, obviously, as I got better and understood this, then it and performed, right? I could make terms a little better for me as the sponsor, the general partner. But it was one by one. I'm talking, with investors. It was investor 1, and then it was investor 2, and then it was really one by one now that I think about it.
Yeah.
And then I started to get multiple investors on deals around that when I did that 16 unit. And then now with debt investing, there might be max 4 people in on a loan.
Okay.
If it's a bigger loan. But dude, that wasn't a short time. That took approximately a decade, maybe 8 years, 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
To go from 1 to 1 to, I guess I've never had anybody other than the funds I've worked for, right, where we have a bunch of investors. But for my personal syndications and my personal, debt deals, I've never had more than 4 people in a single deal.
Yeah.
But those people that started with $100,000, well, now they're all richer. And so they can stroke $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 checks. So I've really grown it as organically as you can really grow it.
Yeah.
And even with my quote unquote social media, right, with my business media, which I'm not super heavy in, but I'm getting 100 views, and 4 people are calling me for that deal, and investing within a week. So super grassroots. That's been my trajectory. I haven't exploded. I've just one by one, inch by inch. And you certainly have that skill set to do that. I think you'll probably do it faster than me because you've got a gig at Ironton Capital. You've got really high-end mentors that are supporting you. And so you get to see kind of the end of people who are, managing 10, 50, 100 million and up in terms of the micro investment funds and syndications. And micro, for us, anything micro is under 300 million. So you can be rocking it in our world. You can be rocking and rolling with $100 million, $50 million. And I've never done anything even remotely that big at one time. So yeah, I mean, I see you doing something very similar, but just faster, right? Because you've got that gas on the fire and you've got the path. Remember, I started when I didn't even know what the word syndication meant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
you were doing it before syndication was called syndication.
Yeah. I was like, this is an apartment building. I think it can make us money. Let's, please, investor number 1. This is why I think it will work. And thank goodness they believed in me. And thank goodness it worked. And then it worked and worked and worked. So, that's essentially my journey.
Yeah, what's important is like the time factor. One of the things you taught, you said it took 8 to 10 years to get there. Even if I could do it a little bit faster, I'm not having that expectation. I look at the founder of Ironton Capital. I get to work with one of the smartest guys I ever know. and he makes things look really easy right now, but it's taken him 25 years to make it look that easy and to build trust among so many people, right? It's unbelievable. And I was talking to another operator here in Colorado. I got lunch with him a little bit ago, and big flipper leading up to 0809, made a ton of money. Him and his brother crushed it, and then they started buying up their own apartment complexes, and they had 400 to 500 units just under their own name. He's like, I did it for 10 years. He's like, all of a sudden I got to year 10 and I just looked back at everything. I was like, holy crap. Like, some of those things just take time. It takes time to build trust, to build that track record. And in our modern day society, like we want things now. We want 100 million in AUM now, or we want $1 million now, but it takes just so much effort and time in reality. We just got to respect that patience and, time,
Yeah. That's exactly right. And are you playing a finite game or an infinite game? Right. Yeah. And, I love the idea of get in the game and stay in the game.
Yeah.
If you can get in the game and stay in the game, just sheer longevity will make you successful. And whether that longevity is 10 years or 20 years or however long, one of my childhood friends is Meb Faber, and I watch his podcast, and he just hit 1 billion, I think. And I think it took him 17 years, or maybe he posted this on LinkedIn. Anyway, it took him 17 years. Mm-hmm. Most people don't have the stones, the stomach, the constitution, whatever you want to say, to stick with anything for 17 years.
Right.
And if you're an entrepreneur and you start over every 3 years, that's a rough go of it, right? So I guess in my humble opinion, you got to find something that